Your new live album, Carpe Noctem, comes out February 24th. Your last live album came out in 1989. Why did you decide to release a live album now?
Well, we had these recordings, and it sounded great. Most of them, most of the songs, and sometimes having a live record actually gets you. It kind of is a bridge from one point to a next. Usually between studio records. So I'm not going to lie, that helps a little bit. But Armin's saying, live is we're always an entertaining band, and I think that obviously that's one of the best aspects of the group. Even in the early days, when sometimes our records maybe didn't capture the way we sounded live the best that they could, you could always rely on us sounding pretty great live. So this record sounds awesome. The production came out great, and we wanted to put some newer songs on that were not part of when we recorded Saints Will Conquer, because that was on Raising Fear. So that was like 1988, 87 when that record came out. So we've had some records come out since then. So it just seemed logical to have some of those songs on it, even though we have March of the Sane and Stricken by Fate, which are from March, and also Aftermath, which is from Delirious Nomad on it as well. So, there has been some grumblings from people about the length of the record and the amount of songs, and I understand that. But we only had 2 shows to choose from, and we just wanted to make sure we picked the right songs and the best sounding songs.
You recently toured with Metal Church and Queensryche. Do you feel that there has been a resurgence of 80s metal?
Well, I think that a lot of people just love nostalgic stuff that they grew up with when they were younger. Some of these people are passing the torch on down to their offspring and stuff, and so there's kind of like a new generation of people being exposed to older music. I mean, that goes beyond metal. I mean, you have 15-year-old kids who are listening to Beatles records, now. So, and I guess it's probably never changed. So, but the 80s was a cool time for music, especially in hard rock and heavy metal, and there's some very popular bands, and a lot of people connected with a lot of those groups, and a lot of those bands are still playing. Beyond just the metal genre, you got bands in like the hair metal world and the thrash metal world, whatever. There's a lot of bands that are still just doing it. Us being one, and Queensryche and Metal Church being 2 others, just to name a couple. So, it's cool. I mean, we're fortunate that some people still want to come out. So, and I think that our goal is to just keep making music that is of the highest quality. So when we do make new records, we're not just kind of going through the motions and doing something to allow us to go play some shows. Excuse me. We're making records that are actually maybe some of our best records, and that's how we feel about our last one. That's for sure.
Do you feel like the 80s bands, like your peers, had more of a focus on songwriting than a lot of the newer bands today do?
I can't answer that exactly, because I don't know what, inspires younger and newer bands to write songs and how they approach them. For Armored Saint, I can only speak and say that sometimes we grew up on a lot of 70s pop bands, so I think that helped kind of shape a little bit of the way we look at songwriting. It's funny, I'll listen to 70s on 7 on Sirius, and I'll crack up on how many of those records I owned, and that's like pop rock stuff, because it just I loved everything from the Swede and Chicago to Elton John, you name it. So and a lot of these people were just writing great songs. So I think that's always the way we approach songwriting, and try to write a song that is memorable, and even if it's a fast-paced, blistering song, it still needs to be something that just has a good hook and has a good riff that is something that's going to last the test of time. So that's how we approach it.
Your last studio album, Win Hands Down, got great reviews and sold twice as many copies as your previous album. In a world where streaming is becoming more popular, what do you think drives people to go out and buy the physical album, whether it's musically or other factors?
Well, we're lucky that the metal genre is something that people still really want to go out and get the physical record, as you put it. Some people are still buying vinyl. Some people are buying CDs. Although Brian Slagle from Metal Blade recently told me that that's even for metal, that's starting to change a lot too, and people are just downloading music. So more so than they were maybe even a few years ago, which is look, at the end of the day, I guess no matter how you get a record, as long as you get it, that's the goal. I know that as a person making music, we make records and we make them so they should be listened to in their entirety. Now, of course, not everybody does, including myself. I'll go jogging and I'll just play random songs because it's just the way I like to run, and listen to music. I'm actually just trying to get through my whole library. So, but I think that metal people are still people that want to hear a record from top to bottom, and they like looking at liner notes and checking out artwork, and because that kind of makes them feel like they're part of that. I guess if maybe if you're buying some Rhiannon record or whatever, you don't feel like you need to do that. You just give me the song and that's it. I don't need to look at any of that stuff. I know people, I'm sure some people do, but it seems like most people probably don't care. But I don't know. Yeah, I said something recently about streaming, and it was kind of misinterpreted. But I do think that artists are not being compensated correctly, and it's not. I don't think it's not the label's fault per se. It's just the way it's kind of all came together. But hopefully they'll rectify that because it's. I don't know. It's a weird world where people think you should be able to just get music for free, but you can't get other things for free. You can't just walk into a store and walk out with, a bag of groceries. You have to pay for it. So why should music be any different?
Armored Saint headlined the Ozzfest kickoff party. How did that opportunity come about, and what was your reaction to being asked to play one of the biggest metal festivals in North America last year?
I don't know. We just were asked to do the kickoff party, and so we were honored. It would have been cool to be part of maybe one of the other 2 days, but we weren't. But it was fun. It was only for the campers, so it was certainly a small amount of people that actually were able to come because it was really only for those people. And it was, the day before the festival began, so people were still kind of trickling in. But yeah, it was a fun show. We played like one of the side stages, so there was a big grassy area, so it was so giant that unfortunately, even though there was a fair amount of people there, it looked kind of small because it was just such a big place. But it was cool to play on a real sound system and a real lighting rig, and I'm sure there was probably some people there that had never seen Armored Saint because, like I said, it was the Ozzfest crowd. It wasn't like an Armored Saint crowd. So that was a good exposure for us.
You've said in the past that you think Armored Saint would have been more successful if you guys had toured Europe sooner. Have you noticed any major differences between U.S. audiences and European audiences at your shows?
No, not really. I mean, European audiences are, they have their kind of own culture, obviously. There's various countries, and they're all kind of different in their own way. So, they just kind of give it their own kind of touch, whether they're German or Dutch or, Spanish, Italian, you name it. But, I think metal fans, period, and throughout the world are enthusiastic about what they dig, and American audiences are certainly no exception to that. And we've had amazing shows here in the States that we've reflect back on as some of the best gigs that we've ever had in our lives. So, including some of the shows that we just recently played with Queensryche here in the States. So, it's always good if it's a crowded show and sweaty and enthusiastic audience that is just passionate. And that varies from city to city and circumstance to circumstance. And sometimes you have a packed crowd and they're lackluster, so you never know. Or you might have a small crowd. It's some of the best shows you ever had. So it just depends, and it is never specific to a city. Although sometimes I think Chicago is one of the best cities in America consistently, as far as metal shows go. But LA is our home, and we've had some of the best shows in our life here in Los Angeles as well.
How do you balance your home life and your touring life?
Delicately and difficultly sometimes. That's a word. I don't know if that's a word, difficultly. Yeah, it's hard. It's I love playing. I love going out and doing shows, and I don't know if I love touring per se anymore, because a lot of it is just is you play your show, and then about 22 and a half hours otherwise you're you're in some other city or something, or trying to occupy your time some way. So try to be productive and maybe read and get caught up with some books or something, or for me, like some basketball games that I want to see. But all in all, I don't like leaving home too often, primarily because I have a family. I have 2 kids and my wife, and we have a business together, and it's difficult because we kind of have a tag team approach to raising our kids, and when I'm gone, I'm not there. So it puts the load on her, and she's amazing and is able to keep it going, but obviously it's easier when I'm here. And I've said this numerous times that one of the things I feel like in life is that you just can't get time back. Once it passes, it's gone. So you miss 3 weeks or a month of your kids growing up. It's a lot. Believe me, it seems like a month is like a year for a kid. And so I try to find out a way to work that out. I bring my family on the road if I'm going to go for a long time, like we just did, which costs money, but is important, and you're still bonding, and so that's what we do. And my kids actually like coming on the road and being on the tour bus and hanging out with the band and stuff. Especially my son, but it's not easy. It's not easy, and I'm sure it's not easy for most people in my peer group who are older and have families. Sometimes you make the choice that you'll go out for a longer period of time. I personally don't want to do that, but at the same time, like I said, I love playing, so it's a difficult thing to do.
Are your kids musicians or into metal at all?
Yeah, they're into it. My son and daughter really love music, and my son in particular is somebody who he really likes to be part of what's happening out there, as far as following bands around, and listening to new music, and I try to expose them to all kinds of different music, because they're in the world they live in. They get infiltrated with some pretty crappy music. So my wife and I are really adamant about trying to make sure that they're exposed to cool bands, or at least what we think are. But they had a great time watching Queensryche every night on the tour that we were out with, and inspired by them. So it's cool. My son plays drums. He wants a new drum set, and we're working on that. And he's come on stage with me many times playing a little bit of guitar and singing on Can You Deliver on numerous shows. So he's pretty fortunate. I tell them that all the time. Like, dude, not everybody does this. You're pretty lucky. He'll go on, in a festival, in front of thousands of people, and be able to do that. So it's pretty cool. And my daughter is into her school musical and some drama. So they both got a real knack for music.
Are there any newer metal bands that you're a fan of?
Yeah, sure. Let me see. I'm always saying bands, and then I realize that they're not really new. So I have to think about it for a minute. Give me a minute. Well, ask me something else, and I'll try to make sure that I don't say somebody who's like Queens of the Stone Age who isn't new at all.
Right.
Something like that. Let me think about it.
What is, like, if you had to choose one album to define heavy metal, which album would that be?
Oh, wow. Well, for me, or just for the genre in as a whole?
For you.
Gosh, I don't know. Paranoid. I mean, I feel like it all started with Sabbath, so it has to be a Sabbath record. And even though Paranoid, is probably the most popular, I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite, but it's still just a classic Sabbath record. So let's say that.
All right. How did you become a metal singer, or what triggered you to become a metal singer?
Well, I think that by the time I got into high school, amongst my friends, guys in my band, and other friends, we were just probably wanting to listen to more aggressive music. You know, then Lizzie, Judas Priest, eventually Iron Maiden, Motorhead, UFO. These are Scorpions. These are bands that just, I don't know, as we got more into music, these are the bands that had the biggest impact on us at that time. And so I tried to emulate following those singers. Phil Mogg, Phil Lynott, Paul Di'Anno, Plant, Ozzy, all those guys. I just wanted to try to, Bon Scott, just, those are my heroes at that time even. So, and they still are. So, I would sing to the records and try to develop my voice.
James Hetfield asked you to record the vocals for Kill 'Em All. If he asked you to sing for Metallica again, would you do it?
Well, I did the one show where we opened for Metallica at the Fillmore on their 30th anniversary a few years back, and I did the Four Horsemen, which you can still see on YouTube and probably at various other places. That was a highlight of my life, and it was a great honor to be able to come on stage and do that. So I think that was good enough for me. James is he's James, man. He's the guy. He's the front man of Metallica. He's a singer. He's made giant strides as a vocalist through the years, and there's no one else that should be in front of that mic for that band. It should be him.
What are some of your proudest musical achievements in Armored Saint and Anthrax?
Well, I think just making all those records was, every time you make a record, and it comes out, and you look at the cover and you listen back to it, I think you should feel quite rewarded by that. And that's how I've always felt. I think playing shows live, of course, are fun and exciting, and you can look back and go, "That was an amazing gig." But I think that the record is the thing that it lasts forever. It's just immortalized. So I think anytime I made a record, I felt that major achievement inside of myself. So I think all those records would be the thing that I feel is probably the biggest like I said, achievement in my life. All of them, all the same records, all the Anthrax records. I think that I always look back on that and feel most rewarded by those.
Have you listened to any new albums from your peers, like, say, the new Metallica album, the new Megadeth, new Anthrax albums?
Definitely, I'm always listening to lots of music. You name it. Although I just couldn't name a new band right there when you asked me, I was on the spot. But I think it's important to listen to lots of new music from various types of genres, which I try to do. Because I want to know what's happening. I don't want to be some old fuddy-duddy going, I only like music from 1981 to 1980. 6, and that's it. Those are the best, man. You know, it's just a cruddy thought process, and I don't like doing that. So, it's important for me to listen to lots of various music from my peers, other groups, different, like I said, different styles, different genres. Um, you know, so I know what's happening, so I can be informed and you know, feel like, hey, man, that's you know, I know what's happening out there, um, and I can appreciate it because I want to appreciate new music. I just say, like I said, I think it's important. I think the Metallica record sounds awesome. You know, I think Anthrax has done great things with the last 2 records they've made. So, you know, it's important to know that and to be informed. You know, I love bands. You know, there's a band Trombone Shorty, which again, different style than metal, although they have a rock edge. But you know, they're really amazing. Always entertaining live. One of the coolest bands I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years, actually. So I love Janelle Monáe. She's incredible.
One of the big questions was, if you were presented with the opportunity, would you ever work with Anthrax again?
Well, I'm proud of all the music I made with Anthrax. I think we made some awesome records, some underrated actually. But I think they're in a good place right now where they're at, and I don't think that that's something that I would want to disturb or go in and create an upheaval there. You know, that's not my objective. I actually am quite happy in Armored Saint and doing what I'm doing, and you know, I think that we can look back and be happy with the music that we've made. Some people have asked me if I'd consider doing something with those songs and maybe doing some shows, and I said that I would consider it. I haven't made any inroads to do that. I haven't made any attempt to do that. Of course, I said that, and the next thing I know, Blabbermouth posted it on something like, John Bush said he's going to... I'm like, that's not what I said. I said I would entertain the idea, and, you know, I am proud of all those songs, and, well, a lot of those songs, and those records, and eventually, one day, it would be cool to do something, but in what capacity, I don't know. How, I don't know. With who, I don't know. I haven't thought about any of that yet, really. I just thought that, you know, one day, I'm sure some people would be excited to hear me sing a lot of those songs, and they don't do them, which I understand why. So, you know, I don't want them to just completely, you know, fall into the grave and be something that are eliminated for life, you know. So, but, you know, where, I don't know. What shows, you know, what cities, that I haven't put in anything into motion yet.
All right. What are your future plans for Armored Saint, or personally?
Well, we're doing some shows at the end of March in Britain and in Ireland, which should be fun because we're playing some places that we've never played, which is always fun for me. I played there with Anthrax in Dublin and Manchester and Birmingham, but Armored Saint never has. So we're doing the Hammerfest, which is in Wales. It's another country we've never been to, and then we're doing those other shows, and it'll be fun because the UK is amazing, some of the best crowds, and it'll be great for Saint to play some cities that we've never played. It's always fun to do that, even though we've been around as long as we have. There's still some places we've never played, so it's always fun.
All right. Is there anything else you'd want to get out there to fans who might be listening to this?
Just thanks for all the support through the years. Check out the new live record coming out. It sounds awesome. You know, we're honored that people still dig Saint, and we feel like we're riding a nice high right now of playing live and making some cool music. So check it all out, and thank you for the support.